Dune Imperium, a game of worker placement, deck building, and all kinds of political infighting? Kind of. It depends which family we're on. We, Wes, thank you so much for being here. Espionage is a great word. I'm Tom, is Lachlan, Mr. Espionage, Sean, and Kai, and we're going to teach you how to play Dune Imperium with the Rise of X expansion and the extra sexy, super fancy upgrade kit. I do have to say, just for the point of clarification, that while I have personally purchased the base game and the upgrade kit, the expansion was provided to us by a distributor, so thank you very much to them. It shouldn't impact anything on our gameplay or our review at the end, but just for full clarification, that exists. We are doing a gameplay and a review of this, so if you want to check those out, links are down below. But without further ado, I'm going to let Mr. Kai teach you how to play Dune Imperium with the Rise of X.
So as Tom said, this is a deck building worker placement game. You start your game with 10 cards in your hand. The game takes place over a number of rounds where we're all trying to gain the most victory points we possibly can, with the game ending once any one person reaches 10 victory points. The game takes place over a series of rounds, broken down into agent turns and reveal turns. So an agent turn is looking through your hand, finding a card with any of these three symbols along the side. These represent the three different types of location on the board. So you've got the Fremen, which is the blue circle, the Landsraad, which is the green pentagon, and Chome, which is the orange triangle. So if I was to play this card, the Signet Ring, I can place one of my agents, which are these cool little minis or a little wooden meeple looking thing in the base game, and place it on any space with a hexagon, a circle, or a triangle. When I place it on a space, I get the ability or the bonuses listed next to it. In this case, this would be a unit, a troop, and a water. Troops are these guys here, the little minis that we've got. They're cubes in the base game, that's why the picture's a cube. And those guys go into your garrison over here. Resources go into your supply. The other thing that happens when you play a card for an agent turn is you get whatever ability is listed in this grey box beneath it. So in this case, the Signet Ring is a unique ability that each person has for the leader of their house. So for argument's sake, in this particular game, I am playing Helena Riches?
Yep, those are words. And my Signet Ring ability is to manipulate, remove and replace a card in the Imperium row. The Imperium row is this lot of 5 cards over here, which effectively is the store. During your reveal turn this round, you may acquire the removed card for 1 less influence. We'll get to the reveal turn later on, but each of us will have a different Signet Ring ability. For argument's sake, Paul Atreides, his Signet Ring ability is to draw a card, which is what this little green rectangle means. Like, favourite character, but such a basic ass ability.
Very, very basic. The other thing to take into account when picking your leader is the number of hexagons up the top by their name here is the complexity of that character. So Paul Atreides, 1, pretty basic strategy there. Richie's here is a 2, and there are some 3 complexity characters as well that make things a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, I can't believe I got a hard one. And then...
You got 2 hard ones.
I got 2 hard ones.
The other type of icon that you might see on the left-hand side of your card during an agent turn is one of the 4
Might have to pull it down a little bit.
factions. Sorry. There we go. One of the 4 factions along the side here, which relate to the 4 factions on the board here. From top to bottom, we have got the Emperor, the Spacing Guild, the Bene Gesserit, and the Fremen. The little difference when you're placing your units, your agents rather, in one of these spaces is that you also gain influence with that faction. So when placing your agent in a Fremen space, for example, you also move your little influence token here up 1 space to indicate that you are gaining influence with that faction. Once you reach the 2nd stage of influence, you gain a victory point.
Let's go!
And once you reach the 4th, you take this token from that space, which gives you another victory point.
Base game is just a little cardboard token, isn't it?
It is a little cardboard circle in the base game.
I want to paint these. I don't even paint minis. I'm not even a mini person, but these are gorgeous.
They're so cool. I love them. That is worth another victory point, as long as you have it, and it also indicates that you are in an alliance with that house, which comes to effect for some cards and things that you need to be in an alliance with a particular place. That can be lost if someone else comes along and overtakes you. That then moves to that player, and back and forth until someone reaches the very top space, because you can't now get higher them. They will hang on to that unless they lose influence. If you lose influence, you also lose the victory points related. If you come up to the second space here but then drop back, you lose that victory point. So alliances and influence can be gained and lost over the game.
Can be game changing, to be honest.
They can be hugely game changing, and each house also has another side benefit of reaching the fourth space. In this case for Fremen, it's water. Each has a different one, but that's gained each time you rise to that space. So each play, we go around taking it turns, taking agent actions, which is playing a card, placing your agent out. Once you don't have any agents left, you must then take what is called a reveal turn. Now you can take this earlier if you don't want to play any more agents. You can take a reveal turn early. The reveal turn is revealing the cards that are left in your hand. So let's, for argument's sake, say that these 3 cards are the ones that were left in my hand. Now, during the reveal action, the icons on the side and the icons in the grey boxes are irrelevant. All that matters is in this blue-grey section at the bottom here, which are the benefits that you then gain. So these little blue diamonds are influence values, which you can then use to spend in Imperium row that we mentioned earlier to gain more cards, and that's how you build your deck. So in this case, I would have 3 influence to spend. I could purchase this Truthsayer here, but nothing else. The other thing that you can purchase are these 3 cards at the top, which are always available until the decks run out, including the Arrakis Liaison here for 2 and the Spice Worm for 9.
Praise the worm.
And that also has the extra symbol of when you get this, you also get a victory point.
Show it off.
Correct. When you buy a worm,
Kai's a big fan of the worm.
I love me some worms. There's only one god and his name is Shai Hulud.
I'm Mike Wazowski.
Worm boy over here.
Get a victory point just for buying the
You
card.
gain a victory point immediately and that card goes into your deck. Also worth 1 spice during your reveal turns. The game carries on like that. Sorry, I've missed a step. Combat. Very important. Once everyone has taken their reveal turn, whether because they were forced to, because they've run out of agents, or they wanted to, we then move into combat, which is what goes on down in the bottom corner of the board here. Throughout the game, we will have the opportunity from these symbols on the board of some crossed swords to place troops into combat. Once you've done your reveal step, you then calculate your total combat score.
It's place 2 in anytime you see one there?
Up to 2.
Up to 2.
Yeah, so every time you go to a space that has the crossed swords, then you can place up to 2 from your garrison into the combat zone.
Plus any that you gained that turn. So this is a good example, such Tabar. If I had played an agent there earlier on and gained a troop to my garrison, I could then immediately put that troop that I gained that turn, plus up to 2 extras into combat. If you go somewhere that has that symbol but doesn't give you troops, you can still place those 2. And you may also find spaces that will give you troops but don't give you the option to put them into combat. So there's a few different options there.
What are we fighting for?
What are we fighting for? We're fighting for something different each round. There's a conflict deck here that gets progressively more valuable to win in combat. So there's a first, a second, and a third place reward. So obviously first place is worth the most. In this case, it's going up on any of the faction trackers. And spice, second place gets 2 spice, and third place gets 1 spice.
Like, in some cases, you're going to want second place over first place,
It's
which makes
entirely
it
possible.
just real,
You wanna
real
try and-
spicy.
So once I've done my reveal turn, I then calculate my combat score, which you can see down in the bottom right-hand corner of the combat space there. Each troop is worth 2 combat scores. So in this case, I have 3 of them, which means that I get 6 combat score. I think math is hard. Yes, the other
That's
card
an
that I
extra
revealed
combat.
in my reveal step was this little sword, which means I get 1 extra combat. Some cards have got like 3 or 4 of those, so they can be really powerful. The other thing which can add to your combat is Intrigue Cards. Some of those will add to your combat score. Some of them do other tricky, intriguing things throughout the game. Once your combat score is set, play continues again until everyone has taken their reveal turn, set their combat score. Then there is a round of being able to play intrigue cards. So if I wasn't confident that I was going to win, I could play an intrigue card that increased my attack,
Or let you bail out.
or bail out potentially. Then Sean may play one, Lachlan may pass, and we continue that way until everyone has passed in a row.
Because you can pass and then let if someone else plays, you can then jump in.
Absolutely. So if I was to pass and then Sean played a card that bumped him up above me, I then get an opportunity to play a card. So it carries on until everyone has passed. Once the scores are locked in, the rewards are dished out. If there's a tie, for example, if there is a tie for first place, the first place reward is no longer available to anybody, and both players who came first get second place. Second place gets the third place reward. Third place gets nothing. Similarly, if two people are tied in second place, first place goes as normal. The second place reward is dismissed altogether, and the third place reward goes to the two people in second. Third gets nothing. If two people tie for third place, they get nothing. So combat can be a big deal. Right now, this isn't maybe a huge value.
Once you get to the
combat,
level 3 conflict cards, though, and you're getting like two or
victory
three
points
victory
potentially,
points,
huge.
or control over an area to get extra bonuses.
Indeed. So this isn't a good example, and I don't want to spoil too many cards in here, but some of the combat cards will have the name of a place. So, for example, Battle of Arakeen is one of them. Arakeen is a space on the board. If you win that combat, there is a little symbol on that card saying that you can place your flag on that space, meaning you now control Arakeen. From now on, whether you or anyone else goes to that space, you gain, in this case, a Solari, which is that little silver symbol there. That stays until someone beats you for that space, and then your flag is removed and their flag is placed on if that space comes up later on. Now, the thing that is a little bit different in the Rise of X version, or expansion that we're playing, is the top board here has been placed over the original spaces, which adds and changes a few small things. So, first of all, the chome space has been changed with these new symbols down the bottom. And what those represent is shipping. So now instead of just selling your spice straight up, you need to ship and gain resources that way. So that symbol means that you can either A, move your marker up one space on the shipping track, or you can move your token to the bottom of the track and gain every resource from the space that you are in and each one below it. So if you had worked your way all the way up to the very top, you would gain all three benefits on the right-hand side in any order. So you could choose what order to get those benefits back in. That's that space. The other one on the other side there is tech, which is another new one and is the Moon of Ix. I think it's a moon.
Yeah, it looks like a moon. I'll take your word for it. I've never read the book.
We'll call it a moon until someone corrects me. Ix gives you the option to gain tech, which is a new mechanic, which are permanent bonuses that will sit in front of you for the rest of the game. So you can pick from any of the three face-up tech cards. There's two ways to gain them. The first is on the bottom space there, which is just the symbol of the tech card itself. So that symbol means a tech card. So you have to spend the amount of spice listed in the corner of the card, and you get it. There is a little symbol beneath some of those. Two of those have got a little arrow beneath it. Those are bonuses that you get when you acquire that token. So for example, you could pay 2 spice, you get that token, plus you get a water. So there are little bonuses there.
And whenever you win a conflict, you get more water.
For the rest of the game. So those can be pretty powerful as well. And I don't know, I have no idea what's in those decks because we haven't played with this expansion before.
I wanted to have a cheeky look, but I didn't.
This guy. Periscope eyes Sean. The other thing that space gives you is a Dreadnought, which is these cool ship-looking majiggers. Where are we? Here. These are a unit for combat, but they're not a troop. A troop is one of your individual fellows here with a sword. The Dreadnought counts for 3 combat power instead of 2, so it's more powerful. And at the end of combat, it doesn't go back to your supply like a troop does. It goes back to your garrison, which is still on the board.
Damn.
So they're a lot more hardy. They don't die in combat. They can keep coming back. In addition, if you win a combat with a space on it, so again, Arakeen, for example, you could then place your Dreadnought on that space, and until next combat, you're counted as being the owner of that space. So you win, your Juggernaut rolls into town and goes, oh, you think you're in charge with your flags everywhere? I'm a Dreadnought. What are you going to do about it?
Let me just drop a few really slow bombs on you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
See these? They're las guns. You want to mess about? At the end of that turn, it goes back to your garrison.
All right, get Dreadnoughts, win. Cool.
So Dreadnoughts are very powerful. The other space on Ix is another space to gain tech cards. however, at a 1 spice discount, which is very nice. The other symbol is tech negotiation. What you can do when you have that symbol show up either on that space or on a card is place one of your troops into the tech negotiation space on the board there. You can have as many of your troops there as you'd like, and each player can have their troops in there as well. So it's not limited to one player. I could have 3 in there, Sean could have 3 in there, etc., etc. The next time you would gain tech, however you would go about that, whether it's from, again, a card or a space, you can choose to remove as many of your troops as you'd like from that space back into your supply and gain that mini spice discount on your tech card. So if I have 3 troops there, I can remove all 3 and get a 3 spice discount on that tech card. So kind of choosing to use your troops for, if you're not so big on combat, you can still use your troops for something else.
Sorry, question. If, for example, you didn't have enough to pay for a thing, you can still go to the space, but you don't have to buy a card?
Yes, you can still go to the space. If you can't afford one, you can't.
But you probably wouldn't want to, because that space is going to cost you 3 Solari to go to anyway.
Yeah.
But if you really want that Dreadnought, go right ahead.
Yeah, exactly. That pretty much explains the gist of it. There's a few special spaces on the board. For example, the Swordmaster up here, which gives you a 3rd agent for the rest of the game. There's the High Council, which gives you a permanent +2 to your influence. Every space has its own advantages. Obviously, we won't go through every single space, but that gives you the gist.
Very good overview of Dune Imperium.
Yep. Once a player reaches 10, you've finished the round. Then calculate everyone's influence, because someone may jump ahead of you in those last few turns.
Get a few intrigue cards,
and
get a few endgame scoring.
There are intrigue cards that trigger at endgame and can be worth an additional 2 or 3 victory points even at endgame.
I will normally say 11 points is what you're aiming for to win. First person to rush 10 points might not come away with it.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, you want to get there first, but you want to make sure that you haven't got someone with a cheeky 2 victory points up their sleeve that could negate that victory from out from under you.
Question. What is the worm symbol?
At the end of the round, if no one went to that space, Spice goes there.
Okay, gotcha.
And they build up until someone goes there. And then they get all of it.
I'm on board.
I have a question. Influence. How do we
just cut this into the rules explanation?
How do we track that? Like to get 8, because you said that you play
Each
cards to do an action, and then whatever cards are left when you do your reveal action, you get the influence from that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you would calculate your influence from there if you had standing in the High Council, and you would take all of that into account.
Yeah.
So
So
when you buy more cards, then you're obviously, it's like Clank.
it's
You're
like
gonna
playing
get stronger
or
cards.
Gotcha.
or
It's
Dominion.
the same symbol as Clank as well.
So-
Pretty much the exact same thing.
So that's worth 5.
Yeah.
So I could spend 5. If I had a dude over here,
That'd be
I've got
5.
7,
Gotcha.
and I can spend 7. They don't carry over, so there's no token to track it, because if you don't spend it that round, you lose it.
Yeah, and you can buy as many as you want.
Yes, as many as you want until you're out of influence.
I will be
Anything that
honest.
you purchase goes into your discard pile, so you don't get it straight away. You have to wait until you cycle through your hand.
So that's Dune Imperium. There's a lot of symbols, but it's all fairly easy to understand. If you want to see it all run through, we have a gameplay video. We're going to be doing that live on Twitch. You can check those out 12 o'clock Australian Western Standard Time every single week, where we do these how to plays. We do a gameplay and we do a review at the end to give our thoughts on the game once it's all come through. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.